Hey guys, Ramblin' Man Moto here, recording a new video. Now, some of the footage from the past few days I recorded in the past and edited. That was all before the assassination of Charlie Kirk. If you're not into politics, and I get it, some people stumble upon this channel because of motorcycles. And if you don't want to hear about politics, I would just skip on past this video. But I am going to make this video about Charlie Kirk and his assassination. I'll just say to set the table, I was at a board meeting for my company out of state when Kirk's assassination happened. I got a headline notice that I read, and while I was reading it, my oldest teenage son texted me and said, Kirk's been shot. And out of this experience, you know, when I was a kid, there was the video series called Faces of Death, where it was considered almost like bootleg to see graphic death videos. And now with the internet, it's completely available. There is no gatekeeper, which I don't mind. The media trying to protect us as if we can't handle it always bothered me. They could see it, mind you, because they were sophisticated professionals, but not us. Now, I know there's some people that say we shouldn't see it, we shouldn't look at it, like the 9/11 videos. So much of that has been scrubbed. The Boston bombing graphic pictures, if you haven't seen those on the internet, it'll turn your stomach. But it's a necessary reminder of what we're up against. So I watch them. I watch everything I can get, but within seconds, my teenage son is sending me the 3 angles that were the most seen, including the close-up. And you can't unsee it. Now, one thing that came out of this for me was how much influence Kirk had, that my teenage son and many of his buddies listened to Kirk. We listened to Kirk. We talked about Kirk in the family. We homeschooled our kids all the way through. Bless my wife for doing that. It usually falls on the mothers, and it does in this family. From kindergarten on up, she has homeschooled all 3 kids, in part because of the leftist indoctrination in the public school system. If we cared about our children and their education and didn't want them indoctrinated. Now, the leftists will say, well, that's all you're doing at homeschooling. Nope. I can assure you we study both sides. We know the left better than they know the left. We know how they think. We read what they write. They don't. And this is evidenced by the distortions about Charlie Kirk. You know, the kids were taking debate classes. And well, if you've never done this, you should do it. Play one of Charlie Kirk's videos and tee up the question. Hit pause. Go around the dinner table. How would you answer that question? Because I'm going to tell you, it's never going to be as good as Charlie Kirk's answer. Because we tried, right? I've tried. They're going to tell you he was a fascist. There's a video out there, one of Kirk's videos, where somebody's calling him a fascist. And they say, well, what's the definition of a fascist? I'm not into all that. You should go ask somebody else. They didn't know what it meant. They said, oh, I've heard other people call him that, so he must be that. I'm telling you. You can disagree if you want. You're not going to change my mind about what I think about politics. I've been studying it since I was in high school. Thought I would maybe one day run for elected office. That didn't pan out. We all contribute in our own ways, right? But in this case, it's like, if you go and listen to Kirk, really listen to his answers, and not just the short blurbs or things taken out of context. AOC, today, the day I'm making this video, called him ignorant and uneducated. This pathetic bartender that just everywhere sees victimology has the nerve to call him uneducated and ignorant. I'm going to tell you guys, the fact that the left is more upset about one talk show host losing his job rather than a guy getting assassinated and murdered for words is really eye-opening, I hope, to a lot of you. These people are disgusting. They're vile. Somehow, no matter what happens, the left paints themselves as victims. Charlie Kirk is assassinated by a leftist, a guy that has been indoctrinated in a short amount of time. And yet, they don't care that he was murdered. They said they had it coming to him. I saw one comment, somebody said that Charlie Kirk once said we should bring back public executions. Mission accomplished. Wish granted is what they said. All over words. I'm going to tell you, if somebody's words have so much influence and control over you that you think you have to murder them, that is your problem, that you don't have control over your emotions. Try being a conservative Christian Republican for the past many, many, many years and have Democrats in the media call you a Nazi, a fascist, a homophobe, a racist. Do we go around shooting people? Generally not. They'll come up with some crackpot, isolated incident, and I can almost guarantee you we can drill down and find out they were a leftist or had some other reason. They are trying to paint this guy that he was a MAGA Republican. Now, just use your own brain and logic. A MAGA Republican is going to shoot up Charlie Kirk. It makes zero sense. He was raised in a Republican household, and I think it's interesting that the way Democrats deduced that was probably the first photo of the family. The guy had an American flag shirt. Eureka! He must be a Republican. That tells you a lot right there. Okay, because we all didn't know enough about the family yet to even know that when this stuff started coming out. But how many Republican MAGAs do you know that sit and play video games all day with their trans boyfriend going into furry groups online? And if you don't know what that is, it's people that associate with living as an animal, like a dog. Like I'm going to act like a dog or a cat. Yeah, that sounds like typical Republican MAGA behavior that's going to make me go out and shoot one of my own. It makes no sense. Logically, they are trying to lie and twist this because they know they have a problem. They are the party of death. They are the party of nasty and vile talk. I'm going to tell you, before our first child was born, I got through to Rush Limbaugh. I got through to Rush Limbaugh 3 times in the years. I got through to Bo Snerdley 2 more times, but didn't make it through. But I made it through 3 times, and on one of the calls, I was able to get the recording. And on that call, it was weeks before the birth of our first child. And look, when you're about to talk to Rush Limbaugh, you're just finding any reason to talk to Rush Limbaugh. And I called up on Open Line Friday, was caller number 1 on Open Line Friday. And, maybe I'll play the video. It's grainy because it's older video. It was converted using an old Windows machine. Maybe I'll play the video so you can hear it. Let me roll the clip.
You're the first call today on Open Line Friday. Hello.
Maha Rushy, Second Amendment 24/7 member dittos.
Thank you, sir.
My wife and I are expecting our first child in 2 weeks. We want to make sure we do our best to teach them the importance of limited government, peace through superior firepower, and ultimately to be a true conservative. Any advice on how to do that, especially when they're subjected to the public school system down the road?
Well, this is an excellent question. I don't know that I'm the one to answer it, given that I've never done what you're going to do. And I've never had a desire to do what you're going to do. And that is raise a crumb cruncher from birth to adulthood. If I were in your shoes, I mean, just to be honest with you, I'd be praying for the next 18 years when I can kick the kid out of the house and go by faster than any 18 years in my life. But everybody tells me I'm wrong, that if I ever did goof up and have a kid, that I would totally change my attitude about that. But I do have some ideas for you, and I could rely only on my own parents. And my own father. But I think, my father never told me what to think, never wagged his finger, and except when I was, needed to be disciplined or something. But you're talking about ideological type things. My father never told me what to think. I just couldn't escape his ideology, and he was profoundly influential and inspiring. And what was inspiring to me was his knowledge. The man knew so much. I wanted to know what he knew. I wanted to be able to speak like he. I wanted to be able to be conversant in so many things as he was. One of the reasons that I got disappointed with school was that I thought I was wasting my time with half of it. Half of it I didn't care about. Well, that's part of a well-rounded education. You don't know how to educate yourself. You're not smart enough. We have trained educators to do that, which I understand. But, when you design a mass appeal education system, it's designed to hit the most people in a positive way. There are always going to be oddballs like me who can't wait to get out of school once they're introduced to the 1st or 2nd grade because they know then that it's not for them. And that was me. So, but my father, I had a couple teachers in school too that were inspirational in this way, but I think the best thing you can do is be smarter than any teacher he's going to have. Be smarter than any principal. Live your life the way you want you want him to live his. But don't make him. Let him see it for himself, because he's going to rebel against it at some point, regardless of age. All crumb crunchers do that. But if you set the example, and especially one that's inspiring, that's what worked with me. And I don't think a human being, it's possible to take a human being and mold them and shape them and turn them into little robots, but you don't want that. You want an independent thinking, curious. When you tell him something he doesn't know, you want him to, you want to be able to explain why when he asks you why. You don't want to have to say, because I said so. You want to be able to tell him why. You want to be able to have the answers. And if you don't have the answers, go with him and look them up. And show him how to learn.
May I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
One thing that and I appreciate that advice, and one thing I'm foreseeing is that if you have and I don't want to come across as fighting his teachers, but if he comes home from school with, some example that I disagree with, I don't want to see my child see me go to school to battle every teacher he disagrees with. So how do you send him into the battle, him or her into that battle?
Well, again, let me take a break here and come back and deal with this after the break. I've not done this, and I'm probably not the best to advise on this. I'll tell you what I think, and the only way I could do it is put myself in your shoes. And even though I'm sweating bullets at the thought, if I had a kid that was in school, and this happened, I think I know what I would do about it, or how I would handle it. So that's what I'll tell you. But keep in mind I haven't done it, so the advice may be worth what this is costing you, which is zero. We'll be back here in just a second, folks. Stay with us. And get this. And this email, even though nothing to do with what you're asking me about, illustrates this a bit of a problem that you have. Here's an email. You didn't abuse the people last night at the Buckley event by talking football, but I bet you're going to abuse us listeners by talking stinking football today. So here's a guy anticipating a problem that may not even happen. Well, I did talk football with some people last night because there were some people interested in football. And I may talk about it today. It's Open Line Friday for me, too. Back to you. Your question basically is, you don't want to have to go to school and beat the hell out of teachers that are trying to poison your kid's mind, right?
Correct.
All right. You do what I would do is exactly what I told you first. Just get the fundamentals, get that base of ideological belief in your son built simply by the way he observes the way you and your wife live and the way you inspire him as a father. With your knowledge and with your ability to answer his questions and with reasons to back up why you believe what you believe. By the time the kid's 15, no teacher will have any impact on him. I had liberal professors, even my first year in college. I had all kinds of, but never shattered me at all. Never even questioned me. But if it happens, I wouldn't confront the teachers, but it may not happen. Give us another, your son's not even born yet. It's not going to happen for 10 or 15, 20 years. 10 or 15, 20 years, we may have beaten that problem for you. We may have reformed the education system enough. There won't be a problem. But if we haven't, if your son comes home with some outrageous essay question or some problem with the teacher, only if it results in bad grades do you take it up at the school. But he comes home with some problem or some question or some story about what the teacher did, just make him smarter than the teacher. Teachers aren't infallible. And liberal teachers obviously aren't, and they obviously don't know what's right, and they're probably even not thinking much. They're probably just like all other liberals, cliche. Make your son smarter. He's going to have a chance to have an average or above average IQ, which means he's going to be able to learn. That really is the key to it. And he's got to make him confident. Make him let him know that it's okay to be who he is, so that his self-esteem is naturally derived and not dependent on what other people think of him. There's a number of great things you can do that'll insulate you from all these problems, from any influences he might have. Gotta go. We'll be back. Take just a brief break and don't go away, folks.
All right, so the reason I played that video, Rush's answer about always having answers. Be educated and study up so that when your child has questions, be smarter than his teacher. That was what Rush was getting to. Now, when you translate that and take that out to Charlie Kirk, this guy was on another level. His memory of Bible verses, of things through history, of stats, it was flat out amazing. It was a God-given gift that he was here. And if you're not aware of him, a lot of people weren't. They're learning about him now. We have him to thank for Trump winning that re-election because he moved the youth vote, as evidenced by this outpouring of emotion on the level of when Princess Di passed away. And when you watch his videos, the compassion that he had in many of his answers, he believed in the open debate of civil ideas. And he would say, if we stop talking to each other, that's when civil war happens. Well, look what happened. This leftist nut that lives in video game land with his trans partner decides he just can't take the hate this guy is spreading. And Kirk would have people come up and say, you're a hateful racist. And he would say, okay, say one thing that I said that's racist. They couldn't do it. They came there, they came to the mic, said that he's hateful and racist, and he would say, okay, tell me one thing I've said that's racist. Well, everything. And then they usually ended with calling him an MFer, a racist. This is what they've been taught because liberals have taken over public education, higher education, entertainment, and science. And we are battling these activists. They're not teaching children at college. They are indoctrinating them. And so are they in the public schools. Now, I've listened to hours of Charlie Kirk's stuff so that I could get better and challenge my own thinking. Like, how would I answer these questions? I'm still processing it. We are a week and 2 days, I guess, removed while I'm recording this. It's had a real impact on me because I listened to him so much. He's 31 years old. He was this generation's Rush Limbaugh. To me, I kind of put him up there. He got me back interested in both politics and religion. And his death has had even more of an impact on that and made me really question a lot of things in my head and my life, like a lot of people. And I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with it. Where do we go from here? I've got some ideas I'm mulling around, but what has, I hope, become evident for all of America is how vile the left is. I'm going to tell you, I wasn't alive when JFK was shot. But I bet there weren't many celebrations by Republicans going, we got him. I was alive when Ted Kennedy died. I remember reading the news. And I remember saying, I was with my wife and I said, oh, that sucks. I didn't believe anything he said, but hey, see a guy die, from cancer. That sucks. Well, I'm going to tell you, we didn't go around, hey, we got one. Cancer took out a liberal Democrat. But I can tell you, when Jerry Falwell died, there was a lot of F him. When Rush Limbaugh died, the vile leftist comments. All for what? One were words, but it was also words that were influencing the hearts and minds of people. That's what they didn't like about Charlie Kirk. He was influencing people, and they hated him for it, both on religious and political, and they murdered him over it. Plain and simple. And they rejoiced. And even the ones that are giving the passing, I didn't agree with anything he said. Well, you don't need that preface. Just say murder is wrong, but they can't. They just can't get over the fact that they look at us as the enemy, period. And it's long past time that the Republicans look at them the same way, back. And that's where, I differ with so many of the Republicans. The reason Donald Trump got into office, because he was the first, he's barely a Republican. I couldn't believe the first time he ran. I remember telling family members, I never thought a New York person that used to be a Democrat, anti-gun, pro-abortion, whatever you think, he's now our nominee. Well, he was the nominee way back then. Put yourself way back then with all the Republicans up there. He wasn't the dog I had in that fight, but he fought. He fought back against the media. The George W. Bush Republicans, I don't want to sully the office. We are in a civil war with these people. And instead, we're just sitting back, trying to follow the rules of debates and being friendly and get along. And while they're calling us all sorts of names, pounding us all the time, we want to look like gentlemen. And I yield to the good fellow. Well, Trump didn't. He fought back on this crap, and so many Republicans were like, hell yes, I've had enough of being called all these names from people who actually don't study. They just take things out of context. They're always victims. Just a bit of background, like how long I've studied this. I guess it's been 29 years ago or so. I was in college, and in my senior year, they had a speech competition. And I liked public speaking. I wanted to get better at it. And, you don't have that many opportunities to practice it. So I entered the speech competition. And I didn't know you had to give the speech a few times as you kept going up that night. There were hundreds of people that showed up because different classes promised people extra credit and assignment grades and stuff if they would go to this event and participate. Well, there were hundreds of people. And a buddy of mine, a couple of them all came and watched this thing. And I was the first one, apparently, to ever use PowerPoint in the speech competition. I had this big American flag behind me. One of my friends joked I looked like George Patton. I wish this was in the days of iPhones, because there was no recording of that event. But anyhow, it was like you had a 5-minute time limit. I used every bit of the 5 minutes. I mean, I had it down to 4 minutes, 58 seconds. And I gave it on the Second Amendment, the history of the Second Amendment, and what the Founding Fathers said. I talked about the case law. I talked about the number of amendments that use the word the people, and how people distort that. For some reason, the people in the Second Amendment is supposed to reference a militia or the National Guard, we're supposed to believe. But in the other amendments, I'd have to look them up. I'm not sure if I remember off the top of my head. 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 9th, maybe? Maybe I'm right on those, I don't know. But there are other amendments that reference the people. And in those amendments, the people are all of the people. But some people want to tell you, though, on the Second Amendment is different. The people means the state National Guard. It's poppycock, okay? So I went through this whole speech. I looked like a Republican from Central Casting when I went to that thing. I had on a blue suit, a red tie, a lapel pin, a pocket square, right? I took it real seriously. And gave it like 3 times. Out of these hundreds of people, 2nd place. Grr, I still remember. One of the judges was some, today might be called a DEI hire. But anyhow, one of the judges that was some corporate type that they asked to sit on this board of judges came up to me. And she said to me, I wanted to compliment your use of PowerPoint. You used PowerPoint exactly the way it should be used, and the presentation was very good. Of course, Of course, she says, I don't agree with anything you had to say, but at least you used PowerPoint correctly. So I asked her, interesting, thank you for the feedback. I was quoting the Founding Fathers. I'm curious, what part of what I said do you disagree with? She kind of sneered. I'm anti-gun. Well, okay, well, that's not disagreeing with me. That is your opinion, but I've cited facts and the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. You want to know who won first place 29 years ago? Was a guy that looked like he was wearing pajama pants. He had on a leather jacket and a t-shirt. Looked like he just strolled in. He gave probably like a 1 to 2.5 minute, it was kind of like a toast. You know, I used the full 5 minutes, which is not even really a speech. He used about 1.5, 2 minutes to talk about how we need to all be inclusive and get along, and that, I want everyone here to sing Kumbaya, be happy. 29 years ago, and we're still putting up with that crap that's permeated. He won first place. Got this, whatever he got. We've been dealing with this crap for this long that the content of my presentation, she judged, disagreed with it, so that influenced her vote. A speech competition is, did you make your point? Convincing, well-spoken, well-polished? Nope, I don't agree with anything you said. And when you ask them, what did you disagree with? Let's talk about that. Nah, I'm anti-gun. I bring all that up to just say nothing has changed. Been studying these people a long time, been studying the trend. Nothing changes for them. For example, when this shooting happened, I'm sure you guys have seen the comments. Well, it's kind of ironic that Charlie was shot with a gun when he said we need deaths to justify the Second Amendment, or however people twisted what he said. Well, of course, there's going to be some murders when there are criminals out there, whether it's with guns or knives. And the other thing they said was, well, that university changed their law or whatever to allow students to carry guns on campus. I guess they're second guessing that now. Now, how stupid do you have to be to think that the university, and I haven't verified if that's true. I saw some comments that because the university changed the law or the regulation to say that students can bring firearms onto the campus, that would have stopped this assassination if they hadn't have done that. How stupid do you have to be to think this guy is hell-bent on killing Charlie Kirk over words? This guy is going to come there with his grandfather's rifle and go, oh, you know what? Damn, no guns allowed on campus. Well, I'm going to go home. How stupid do you have to be to think that that is realistic? But that's who these people are. They look at the stuff in fantasyland thinking while letting all these people out of jail back onto the streets. They don't correlate that with rising crime. They don't correlate their vicious rhetoric of calling anybody they disagree with a Nazi and a racist, telling them to get in our face. They got no problem with any of that. That didn't cause anything. Nope. It's the fact that Utah changed their law about allowing firearms on campus. Or the other thing is, I've seen after the brutal graphic video is, just so you guys know, this is what happens at every school shooting. So he had it coming to him. They don't care when it happens in the school shootings. That's offensive. We offer ideas for how to address the schools. Their solution, ban guns, ban the inanimate object. It is so frustrating. That's their only solution. Let's ban the inanimate object because it must have jumped itself up into someone's hands and made them go do a school shooting. It's stupid. You guys have probably seen the meme saying, well, do you blame a fork because you're fat? No, you picked up the fork and you ate. Firearms used to be taken to school. There used to be guns in schools. There used to be training programs in schools. Hunter kids, teenagers used to take their rifles to them and park in the school parking lot. We didn't have school shootings. What changed? You need to ask yourself that. Is it all the medications these kids are on? Is it violent video games? Is it violent entertainment? I don't know the answer, but I know part of the solution, and it's not banning guns, because it's not going to work. And in a country of 300 million gun owners, a small percentage every year commit crimes. A lot of these are repeat offenders, and we know who they are, we know what they look like, and we know the rabbit holes they go down of interest. But we go light on crime, and then we want to blame the innocent. We want to blame all gun owners. Why? Because it's about control. It is all about controlling us as a populace. And getting back to the celebration from the left, when Trump was almost assassinated, the vile comments on the internet, I mean, just vile about how they wish it would have been successful. I'm going to tell you, like Gabby Giffords, Democrat out in Arizona, when she was shot, the last thing from my mind was to go, damn, she lived. And if you think that way about Charlie Kirk, a guy who's not even an elected official, he's a guy who believed in his faith and in his country and just wanted the civil debate of ideas, and you are okay with him being murdered, you're a sick person. I'm going to tell you, like Gabby Giffords, it's hard to almost come up with them. I know there's more. There's more leftists that have been shot or died, I'm sure. But what's noteworthy is you'd have to search far and wide to find anyone celebrating it on our side. But when Rush Limbaugh, Jerry Falwell, Charlie Kirk, all these people get shot, it's just this outpouring of celebration from the left. And then the worthless Jimmy Kimmel, poor guy, loses his job. You are hearing more outrage from the left on the fact that this guy lost his job for what he said than for Charlie Kirk losing his life for what he has said. It's just a fact. And I hope if you're not into politics, you step back and go watch some of Charlie Kirk's footage. Watch some of the longer footage and see his interactions with people. Because I'm telling you, if you think he's a racist, fascist, you're being lied to. And you should go judge for yourself. Now, Charlie was a Christian, and by age 31, accomplished more in life than most of us will in our entire lifetimes. The influence he had, meeting with presidents, helped bring Trump probably across the finish line the second time around. Ephesians 4:26, Scripture says, be angry and sin not. Now, you can decide for yourself how you interpret that and what it means, but to me, it validates that anger is a valid emotion. Jesus overturned the tables of the money changers. He wasn't a happy guy about them, right? Anger is a valid emotion. I'm struggling with the and sin not part. Frankly, my faith been a bit weak past number of years. I've had a lot of highs and lows, physically, health issues and challenges. Had a lot of highs and lows spiritually because of it. But I can tell you, people like Kirk, you look at them and go, man, I got to rethink things, because he woke up that morning. There's a video of him riding in with somebody in the car, and they're so excited to see all the people. They're happy. They're upbeat. And just 10, 20 minutes later, his life is gone. You never know when that time is going to come. So you better be prepared now. Better have your spiritual reckoning now and be prepared, because you might not get another shot. The part I'm struggling about, and sin not, is right now, a week and a few days removed from that event, I hate Democrats and leftists and what they're doing to this country. And you, if you're on the other side, clearly you feel that way toward us, because nobody really has a problem with Charlie Kirk getting shot, for the most part, generally speaking. And even if they don't praise it publicly, I just have a solid feeling it's in their hearts. And it was about Rush Limbaugh as well. I don't like what they're doing to our country. I'm tired of going along and getting along and trying to compromise with people on the left. No, they have to be defeated. They have to be in the minority. Now, if you haven't seen the graphic video of his assassination, I'll leave it up to you. I'm not going to play it here. I have it. I would watch that as a reminder of what we're up against and of what he sacrificed. He's a martyr. He went out there confidently for his Christian beliefs and would calmly, he would be called the worst of names, and he would calmly respond to them. Sometimes he would get animated. But when you hear the testimonies of private people that worked with him in private, you get the full picture of the man. And a guy who's a fascist and a racist isn't going to have this outpouring of support from all over the world. People got to know him over the internet. What would they say about you when you die? What are they going to say about me? I tell you, it's something to think about, the way this guy lived his life to live up to 31 years of age. And what really kills me is, as having watched his videos, the amount of knowledge in this guy's head when it came to religious topics, the Bible, politics, history, world history. And the left, these Democrat, these kids. Now, that's another thing. People say, well, Charlie Kirk would go and debate children. Does it make him feel really good that he's debating children that haven't been trained how to debate? Well, these are voters. And keep in mind, Democrats want to lower the voting age. So these very people they're insulting that he's going to debate on college campuses, they think only the liberal professors should be able to indoctrinate these kids. They're not kids. They're actually adults. They're all voting age. They're college students. And Charlie would tell them, you're a voter. You're an adult, right? We're just having a conversation. Well, usually a lot of them would insult Charlie that he didn't go to college. And he would ask him, well, did you read such and such book? Yeah, I had to read that for a class. And he would say, well, what do you think about XYZ from that book? And they would say, man, I don't know. I just read it to pass the class. And Charlie, not a college graduate, didn't pay thousands of dollars to go to college, has actually read the book, digested it, thought about it, learned from it. And Charlie would say, well, who do you think got the better value here? Me that read the book for free and learned from it, or you who read it to pass a course and you actually don't remember or learn anything from it? What would they say to that? You're an a-hole, and they'd walk away. But he got through to a lot of them. He was getting through to a lot of people and influencing them and inspiring them on both politics and religion, and that's why he was murdered. Now, they call that spreading hate. But when you ask them, what is he spreading hate about? They can't tell you, other than the fact that he believed in equal treatment, like under DEI. We should hire based on merit, and skin color should have nothing to do with it. Totally agree. As the Supreme Court Justice John Roberts said, the best way to stop discrimination is to stop discriminating. That was his view. That was it. On the trans stuff, he would say, what's the definition of a woman? That was his question that he asked all the time. And even knowing it, they're not, by the way, a lot of professors came and tried to debate him. And when you would see these professors show up, and you're thinking, I'm about to send my kid to college and I've got to pay for that clown. What's the definition of a woman? Anybody that identifies as a woman. Well, you can't use the word woman to define what a woman is. Now think about how would you answer that? What's the definition of a woman? And somebody said to him one time, well, I know you're anti-trans. And Charlie said, no, I'm pro-reality. That's what, they just can't take the fact that anybody has a different opinion. And these young, as Rush used to call them, skulls full of mush, they come out of the college world and enter the corporate world, and they've been told in college their opinion, they have a right to not be offended. And what they think, they've been indoctrinated for 4 years, and, you're precious, and you have the right to be free from being offended by people. Then they bring that crap into the corporate world, and instead of focusing on making the company a profit, they want people to sit around in kumbaya meetings listening to a gay swimmer talk about the trials and tribulations he's had as a gay swimmer. Or they want to talk about some drug user dies in a terrible situation with police, and somehow, that bothers you, and we have to sit around and talk kumbaya about how that impacts you. That's who they are, right? I'm going to tell you, this video, it may not get many views at all. We're not the biggest channel in the world, that's for darn sure. But I wanted to make kind of a tribute to Charlie. I feel like I lost a member of the family. I've watched hours of his videos before this happened. Things that the Democrats say about him aren't true. It's just what they say about every Republican. To me, they're disgusting people. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with this info, in this event in my life. I've got some ideas, and I'm going to keep those to myself, I think. But one thing that came out of it, like I said, I was at a board meeting out of town for work when this happened. And when I got home, I was able to talk to the family about, we were texting and stuff, but it's not the same talking in person. And as I record this, we have planned, my oldest son and I, and one of his buddies, we're flying to Phoenix this weekend, and we're going to get out there on Saturday. We're going to go to Turning Point headquarters and see the memorial, and then on Sunday we're going to try to be one of the thousands of people going into the stadium. I hope we can get in there. I expect there's going to be protesters. Typical of the left to expect there's going to be protesters, because that's what they do. They agitate, protest. They're not changing anyone's minds, mind you. It's an intimidation tactic. Think about when you try to win hearts and minds, do you go out and protest? No, it's not what Republicans tend to do. We go out and vote. We try to be reasonable. I've had enough of them. Now, they don't justify our attention, but sometimes it's hard to avoid them. I think they're despicable. It's a guy's funeral for a 31-year-old guy they murdered for his religious beliefs and his political beliefs. And I think I hope the emotion doesn't fade. I know that the count that they have of student chapters has gone through the roof, requesting more student chapters. I think there's going to be a spiritual reawakening. I hope there is. I'm having my own. I'm sorting through it all. And frankly, whether it's through any other avenue of life, I've had enough of putting up with this crap, of being told about unconscious bias, and you have to hire the E in equity, the same outcomes. Well, no, there's different work that goes into things, and I'm just had it with all of it. I've had enough with our side being intimidated into being quiet, and they think by taking him out that puts an end to his life and an end to that. And it's like, no, I think they just sparked a movement. Charlie's legacy, I think, will live on. This was this generation's JFK moment. You can think whatever you want. I really don't care. And if you, like I said, we got a small channel, and a few times I've posted some political comments. I've seen that we lose subscribers immediately. I really don't care. I'm not running this for the money. That's for darn sure. This is a labor of love. And, it's not a profit-making endeavor. This is purely for fun. So frankly, I don't care if you disagree with me or not. You're not going to change my mind about what I believe, especially with name-calling and insults of a guy who's been assassinated for simply talking and believing in Christ. So anyhow, this is a long video. I think Charlie was a great guy, and the more I learn about him after the fact, it's even more so. We lost a hell of a human being that had so much knowledge in his head and so much compassion in his heart. And these stupid, vile people on the left who've been indoctrinated, who don't know how to think, have the nerve to call him all these names when they've never probably listened to more than 5 seconds. They've been told what he is, and that he's against this type of people and he's against this sort of person. No, it's just not true. So we're going to go out there, get out there with my son and one of his buddies and myself, hope that we get into the stadium and pay our tribute. I wanted to be there and go, and I think it's an important part. And unlike, I remember Rush Limbaugh talking about when Princess Diana died. I remember when that happened, and I saw the news pop up. And Rush used to say everybody wants to be part of the story. They're out there laying roses down and stuff like that. And I'm like, I wanted to make sure I wasn't in that sort of thinking, right? It's not why I want to go out there. It's a big expense and a time thing for us to go. I'm going literally because I just think it's owed to Charlie's legacy to do something sacrificial, to go out there and try to be part of it. But also, there's something moving in me. There's just something stirring in me that I got to work through about what this means for the future of the country, but really what I'm going to do and in what sphere of life. It's stuff I'd already been thinking about the past couple of years. And to just see that video, that all this work this guy had put into studying to be an orator and a thinker, a philosopher, a priest, a pastor, he was all wrapped up into one. His influence, I think, was larger than Rush. And that some jerk with a rifle ended his life with one bullet, and to see him bleeding out, it puts a fire in me that I'm so pissed off about. And I'm also moved spiritually listening to his words. So anyhow, we're going to go out there, pay tribute to it, and then we continue to have some conversations in the house about the future. That's my tribute to Charlie. Sorry if that went long. Thanks for watching it. I'll see you next time on the road.